The Iranian government began targeting individual members with threats of persecution. This individual-based persecution led to the members of the Ahmadi religion of peace and light to gather and decide to flee, knowing the extremes that the Iranian government are capable of going to, especially against religious minorities. On the 15th of December 2022, the Iranian believers in the Ahmadi religion of peace and light were rounded up and arrested. They were left to suffer in the cold.
There were 15 of them. They were traveling together in a bus, and there were men, women, children. They were just having a normal day, and suddenly, out of nowhere, bullets were coming through, and bullets strike their tires. When they took these 15 members of our religion, they told me that in the beginning they brought a van which was enough for only 6 or maximum 7 people, but they pushed all these 15 people in one van. They said that we had to literally sit on top of each other. Now imagine you have men, you have women, you have 2 kids, and they said it was so horrible that one of the sisters, she passed out in the car. So they had to stop the car for like few minutes, make sure that she's okay, and then they continued. They were shocked, kids, they were crying, screaming, wondering what's going on. They were not thieves, they were not highwaymen trying to stop them or bully them or anything. In fact, it was police officers and intelligence officers who were shooting at them with guns. They were all taken in for interrogation.
These men, women, and children were taken to the notorious Evin prison, a place whose name serves as a reminder of horror and despair for many who have been unfortunate enough to have been there.
Ali Reza Gul Muhammad, they lost their families and their kids, and they are not able to see their kids nor their family members anymore. They had no mercy with these people. The stories that I have heard from my brothers and sisters are terrible, horrific stories that it's worse than any nightmare you can imagine. And they told me that they were kept in a very cold places. The kids were constantly crying, begging for help. 2 sons of Ali Reza Gul Muhammad, their names are Muhammad Hassan and Muhammad Hussein, 7 years old and 14 years old. They were both taken to detention center, and then the parents, they had no idea where they were taken. They had no mercy, even on the kids. They blindfolded them, they handcuffed them, they were beating them up, pushing them around, screaming, shouting, and they were saying, "What have we done? What is our crime?" The satanic government of Iran did a huge list of crimes against our members in Iran. Countless of crimes, I can't even count them. Starting with a young guy by the name of Hamid Reza. He got arrested. They yelled at him, they shouted at him. He said to me that he was interrogated 9 times, 9 different times, and they were constantly forcing him to confess to things that he never ever did. So Hamid Reza and many other members who were taken to Evin prison, they were forced to sign a paper to confess, to say, basically it's accusations, lies, to say that we are homosexuals and we've been doing homosexuality acts, and we have done a lot of fornication, and this is what my religion is promoting, and this is what my religious leader is commanding to do. And basically what's happening here is that these Iranian officers, these Iranian police officers, they were trying to get a kind of a death sentence. They were signing their own death sentence because homosexuality is punishable by death in Iran, and it has very harsh punishments. And they were trying to, first of all, punish these people, get rid of them, and at the same time defame the religion and the religious leader, Abu Sadiq Abdullah Hashim. He said he heard many cries and many yellings during those interrogations, and when he was in his cell, in fact, he heard one of the sisters who's also a member of our religion, and she was also taken to Evin prison. He said during those interrogations, he could hear her for hours crying and begging for help. And he said one of the people in the cell that heard the officers were talking amongst each other, he said that one of the officers said to the sister that you look very ugly, otherwise I would have raped you. Sister Sabah was physically and mentally tortured during this whole time because she was one of the 15 members who were arrested, and in the prison, those officers, they actually told her that if she do not cooperate with them, they are going to rape her. Even the men in prison, they were threatened to be raped. And one of these men, because of how the guards and police officers were dealing with him, he got a massive injury in his arms, and he was begging for help. And no one helped him there. Even the doctors that were available there in the prison, they refused to help him. And they said, you have to take care of yourself. We are innocent of you.
The Ahmadi religion of peace and light is far from being a religion that promotes extremism of any sort. But this religion has a tolerant stance towards acts that are deemed heretical in Islam, such as the consumption of alcohol, and the stance that wearing the hijab or head veil is not obligatory. Article 175. The freedom of expression and dissemination of thoughts in the radio and television of the Islamic Republic of Iran must be guaranteed in keeping with the Islamic criteria and the best interests of the country. Is the Ahmadi religion of peace and light in the best interests of the country? As a country that rejects and refuses to recognize any citizen that does not adhere to a religion that they have approved of, it is clear that they see themselves as well within their rights to torture, persecute, and detain anyone who is a member of the Ahmadi religion of peace and light.
The next case is Muhammad Reza. He's 36 years old. He goes back to his family members. First, they took him to a court. They took a signature from him, promising that he would never ever go back to this religion, the Ahmadi religion of peace and light, and he goes back to his family members. Then he decides to escape the country because he's tired of this oppression, and he knows that sooner or later they are going to get him again and arrest him and oppress him. And as he was, attending the congregations with our members in Iran, and one day when they were traveling together, he was one of those 15 that were traveling together. They caught him and they arrested him. And one of the first things they did to him was they took him physically and slammed his head to the door of the car. What was the reason? The reason was this, because there were two little kids with them. All Muhammad Reza said was this: please, these two kids are crying. They are asking for water. Don't handcuff them. Don't blindfold them. They were trying to put handcuffs on the kids. They were trying to tie up their legs. And these kids were crying, asking for water. He said, please, take care of the kids. So one of the officers got really mad. He took him and he slammed his head to the door a few times. And then all these officers, they took him down the wheel of the car, the tires. And they said, if you talk one more words, we're going to turn on the car and we're going to run over your head. This is exactly what they did to him. Then they took him to Evin prison, and the rest of our members, they didn't hear anything else from Muhammad Reza after that. And they don't know what happened to him. The reality of Iran is that they don't care about any human beings or any human rights at all. They only allow you to be a follower of their own religion or their own ideology, or they have given few religions that you can only follow those religions.
Article 13. Zoroastrian, Jewish, and Christian Iranians are the only recognized religious minorities who, within the limits of the law, are free to perform their religious rites and ceremonies and to act according to their own canon in matters of personal affairs and religious education.
Another member of our religion, whose name is Sayyid Ali Musavi, he's 39 years old. He was basically in his city, and he has started talking about the religion, and he wanted to preach. He wanted to manifest what he believed in. He wanted to tell everybody that, look, I found Imam al-Mahdi, peace be upon him. I found the true religion of God, and I want to talk about it. And he was going around telling only his family members. He didn't even go talk to the others. He started to only mentioning few things just to his family members. He said after few days, few police officers, they came to his house, they approached him, they said, you have to stop. Don't talk about this or we're going to put you in jail. And we don't want to hear this anymore, and we are going to forget about this incident, and we are going to assume that you are not a believer anymore. And Sayyid Ali said, after I heard that, I decided that I wanted to travel and go back to my village. And he said, one night there was a big wedding in the village. He goes to the wedding and he's sitting, no crimes, he's not bothering anyone, he's just sitting enjoying his moment. He said suddenly, few undercover police officers approached him, they surrounded him, and one of them from his back hit him really hard with a stick on his head to the point that his head was split open. And he started bleeding for 25 minutes. It was not stopping. Then they brought an emergency car and they took him to the hospital, and he said even when they were taking me to the hospital, these undercover police officers, they were following me. They were not leaving me alone. So they took him to the hospital. He got better after a couple of weeks, and he said, I managed to escape from the hospital and I escaped the country for my life. Sister Layla and Brother Puria, they were force-fed medicines and pills to keep them calm and to keep them under control, because according to the doctors in Iran, they were insane and they were crazy, and they had to take pills in order to stay normal and in order to stay calm. And they were also forced to be taken to these hospitals by their family members, and they were threatened to death by the Iranian government. The reality of Iran is that they don't care about any human beings or any human rights at all. They only allow you to be a follower of their own religion or their own ideology, or they have given few religions that you can only follow those religions. Outside of this box, outside of this category, you are nothing to them more than a dead body. Meaning what? Meaning you can be threatened with death. You can be threatened with anything. You are not safe anymore in the country.
Harana and Iran International TV, both US-based news agencies, reported on the persecution faced by these Iranian citizens at the hands of their own government.
All these terrible accounts that I'm sharing with you now, why am I sharing it with you? Because I want to bring an awareness to you all that everything that the Iranian government is doing against us, the Ahmadi religion of peace and light, which we have no crimes and we haven't done anything wrong in Iran, why they are doing that is because the Iranian government, they feel threatened by the idea of the appearance of Imam al-Mahdi, the 12th Imam. Basically, Iran is running by Walayat al-Faqih. Walayat al-Faqih is like a god in Iran. They control everything and everyone. And they are able to do that. Why? Because they are claiming that they are linked to the scholars, they are working closely with the scholars and with Khamenei, who they are saying that these are the representatives of God. They are the representatives of God and they are linked to the 12th Imam. And what we are saying is that the 12th Imam, Imam al-Mahdi, peace be upon him, has appeared, and he do not know these people. He has nothing to do with these people. And these people have rejected Imam al-Mahdi, peace be upon him, and they are his enemies, as the narrations of Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, have already foretold. So we know that from the narrations, we've been expecting that. That's why they're scared, and they're trying to do anything they can to defame this religion.